Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone in the room. Hi, everyone online. I'm Irmi. Nice to meet you all, although I can't see you, which is fine because we're recording. Okay, let me start. So I'm delighted to talk today about typography and sticker culture in the Ruhr area. I will be touching on discourses around politics and ideologies and fandom. And it's an exploratory tour of a very big data set. I've just started with this research in summer. In the next 30 minutes, I will cover, give you a little bit of a theoretical contextualizations around stickers, because there's actually a lot of people doing research on this, I found. I'm going to talk a bit about the research context, which is again the science of the Metropolis project in the Ruhr area. The research questions for this talk, the data I worked with, the methods, and then I'm going to focus on my findings around stickers in comparison to other discourse types, so all other kinds of texts in urban spaces that we find, languages and locations. Then I'm going to focus on typography and graphic design, and then talk about themes, authors, audiences, who is publishing their opinions and positions in urban canvases in a way. Okay, so Gertrud Retzenius points out that many stickers start as a form of tagging. Those who post them claim public space by marking, this is so tiny, I can't read it, sorry, by making their presence known, either as individuals or as groups, often by applying the linguistic practice of naming. In a second step, a large number of sticker designers and producers then use their thus created identities to sell, exhibit, and appeal. So in a sense, stickering can be understood as a social practice of placemaking. People make sure you see where they went and walked, and they make themselves visible. And it's in that sense also a form of self-authorised publishing in a semiotic landscape. And typography, on the other hand, is a semiotic system. It's used by social actors to perform all kinds of communicative actions in urban space, and has a particular to display identity and group membership through stylistic choices. And this is what I want to focus on. To contextualize what the area I sort of got my data from, I was part of an interdisciplinary project called Science of the Metropolis, led by Evelyn Ziegler at the University of Duisburg-Essen in Germany. And together we generated a data set of 25,500 images, taking a photo of every little bit of text in 8 streets, everything you find, from tiny embossed writing on bins to huge advertising billboards and everything in between, in 2012 and 13. And you see that these 4 cities are divided by highway, A40, which has motorway, which has the nickname social equator, because the rents and per head incomes are significantly lower in the north. And North Rhine-Westphalia, is important to know as well, is the largest migration area in Germany. Okay, so here are my 3 research questions for today. How are the stickers distributed across different discourse types? What do I mean when I say discourse type? Different contents of communication, everything that's commercial or transgressive or regulatory or infrastructural. These are discourse types. And then I'm going to have a look at what languages we see on the stickers, because that's an interesting fact in a migration area. Then I'm going to think about what's special about stickers in terms of typography and how they differ from other signs in urban spaces. And then I'm going to have a look at which themes are negotiated on stickers and how typography and graphic design are used to support specific messages. Just to show you, how do you work with 25,500 images? First, you take photos for about a year on Sunday mornings at 6 o'clock when all the shops are closed and you're not asked by everyone what the hell you're doing. And once you have these images, you tag them with a group of about 7 student assistants on a huge database. according to various categories such as location, language, discourse type. Here we are again, Skolin and Skolin are the inventors of this term, but also size, material, color, type styles. And once you've done that, that gives you a great source for asking different questions and finding answers. So in preparation for this talk, I've done a quantitative and qualitative visual analysis along 12 parameters, which you see here in the middle. And except for color, which is based on a smaller data set of 500 images, a subsample, I've looked at the entire data set. I've also did some data visualization to look at spatial distributions. And I've done 2 interviews, and they were really, really important to find out what I'm going to report. One with a sociologist who's doing football fan work in Frankfurt with the so-called German Sports Youth. That's an organization that's, I think, mostly been put in place to deal with the many violent and right-wing tendencies in fan clubs, and became like a very big institution in Germany, and I guess in many other countries as well. And then a second interview with an employee of the Coordination Office for Diversity, Tolerance and Democracy. Again, I got a lot of insights from that in Dortmund, one part of town I'm going to focus on. Okay, so let's come to some results. I have 4 bubbly slides, and after the bubbly slides, we're going to get into more detailed typographic analysis. So first, let's have a look at how big the percentage of stickers actually is. So looking at, I've spoken about the discourse types. Here you see the distribution among all our images. What we knew is that we would have a lot of commercial signs because we picked the areas as a sort of mixed residential commercial area. There were a lot of shops, so we knew, yeah, there would be commercial signs. What we didn't expect that 39% of items would be transgressive. Transgressive is everything that you get fined for if the police sees you putting it up. So that was really astonishing. And if we zoom further in, how big is the percentage of stickers among those transgressive signs? They make up 22.2% of the entire data set. It's like almost a quarter of what we got is stickers, meaning they're tiny, everywhere. Okay. Looking at language distribution, on the right side, you see, let's start with the left side, our written direction. On the left side, we have the languages we find in transgressive stickers. And on the right side, the 53 languages in all other discourse types. So what is remarkable about stickers is the amount of English. It's a very international endeavor. And it also tells us something about the themes discussed on stickers. Another thing that's interesting overall that I keep saying is in everything we photographed, we had 53 languages, but we know that school children in one of these cities called Essen speak about 100 languages. So there are a lot of languages used and lived that are never displayed in public space. Okay? The last bubbly slide, a particular complex one. I'm looking here at where I find the stickers, and I found that they're very unequally distributed. So green represents all stickers that are printed, and pink ones are handmade. 38% are down here in Rüttenscheid, and Rüttenscheid is the richest, most middle-class neighborhood. Whereas Dortmund-Nordstadt, here we have 17%, which is a much more multicultural, diverse neighborhood, and Duisburg-Marxloh, top left here, which has just 1.3% stickers, tiny. They have a 60% of inhabitants with migration backgrounds. I have not done interviews to find out why it is, but one could speculate who are the communities that easily do something that you can be fined for, or who have the desire to publicize their points of view in that area. So that there's a big difference between neighborhoods, and that might link to their social structure in a way. Where are stickers attached? Most commonly, lampposts, electricity boxes, and the back of traffic signs. Sometimes also on the back of traffic lights. And often they form these little exhibitions almost. They're like clusters, they're layering. It's almost sometimes as well as if they're fighting. You see that they are covering someone else's message. The eating animal stickers is clearly firmly emplaced, so using the existing regulatory text stop of the application background to realize its message. For other stickers, it might appear at first glance that they are just completely location independent, they're just everywhere. But you're going to see in my further analysis that I'm going to make a case for the fact that they're actually pretty spatialized in their marking territory. Let's have a look at the forms of the stickers, the graphic design, and the typography. First, shapes, sizes, and formats. Most commonly, 90% of them are sort of in equal measure circles, squares, and rectangles, sort of what we would expect from a sticker. The more interesting ones, I find that we have quite a few of here, are the ones that are cut in relation to the presented content, so almost a bit like lettering up here with this love one. And some stickers use the form as part of their message. So you have a speech bubble here, or you have a Superman's shield. That sort of is an iconic part of what's communicated. And then there's this interesting new approach of continuous tape that you can then sort of apply in all sizes and on top of other things. And most stickers are not bigger than the palm of my hand. They're the smallest kind of text fields you find. Stötzner has developed a concept of sinographic practices, dividing all forms of written expression into 4 categories. And except for molding, we find everything in stickers. So there's a lot of charactering, 90% printed. There's 1.7% of stenciled stickers. And then there's a lot of 7.8%, that's around 500 pieces of hand-drawn, handmade stickers. So there are a lot of people who are putting a lot of work into producing them. And then there's composing, sort of assembling different materials to combine images or text. Semiotic modes, there is a small group, around 13% of image only, handmade stickers. They are little artistic series, and they're really fun to follow through the streets. So you have this little, foot stamp and this little white person, and they appear apart and together. It's like a narrative unfolding through the streets, and you can follow where the sticker artist went and put them up, and they have a little story. So it's like there's no, it's very playful and creative, but there's no clear, straightforward meaning you can deduce from those ones. Of course, there's a lot of sort of text-only ones. Again, many stenciled messages among them. And then there's everything of text-image integration you can think of, and sometimes really interesting ones like the rectangles, for example, here, replacing the counters in the no play for fascist sticker to create a somewhat threatening appearance, I find. And the symbols standing for words, like for the I Heart Schalke, which is a soccer club, football club. My students are really not happy if I say soccer instead of football. And then images replacing and forming letters, like in the band Civelli sticker. It's really hard to make general comments about layout. We find everything that graphic design can do on stickers, but there are 2 particularities I would like to point out. If we think about all these graphic items in urban space, stickers do 2 things particularly. On the one hand, there's a high number of super complex layout, so it's much more often super maximalist instead of minimalist. It almost appears to me that the small space and combined with a low demand for legibility inspires people to just be super intense and layer and use everything they have to get their message across. The other thing in the bottom row is something I found interesting, is sort of center-focused layouts where you have no top or bottom or left or right. Michael Twyman has this reading and viewing strategy, non-linear, all options open. I think that's very well displayed here in this bottom. Stickers that have sort of multiple directions and reading directions. Type styles. When you have 25,500 images and items, graphic items to look at, it's interesting to see different type styles used for different kinds of content. And I had a look at what happens on stickers compared to the rest. The 60% of sans serif typefaces, that's what you find in everything else as well. What's outstanding with stickers is the use of decorative typefaces. Second largest group, 33.7%, is 3 times as much as the overall average in all other sign types and genres in urban space. So I'm going to talk about why that is in the next slide. Third largest group is scriptural typefaces. That's a bit higher than the average as well. We have 3 times as many. That's another one that's really interesting. The slab serif typefaces, 3 times as many as everything else. I'm going to have an answer for that too. And then serif typefaces average black letter slightly higher. Also interesting. Who uses black letter in urban space? We only have black letter texts in English and German, and they're a bit higher here. Okay, why this greatest variety of type styles and the most decorative type forms on stickers? What I call decorative typefaces, which is usually all typefaces that do not fit into any other traditionally category of classification, but we can classify them much further. But for our purpose today, sort of highly ornamented, iconic, expressive typefaces, they are detrimental to legibility. You can't set very long texts in them. And that's exactly the situation you have on a sticker. You want to express in a very small space political attitudes, music scene affiliations, football club memberships. They all benefit from this highly connotative, charged typographic forms that have history. And you just have a small space to land a message with an audience, and that's why they sort of bring it all on. So you have here sort of a call for peace using a 1960s Art Nouveau-inspired typeface, looking very flower power hippie in a way. You have sort of communicating emotion, like this shattering and breaking typeface under a thumb of a not liked rival football club. You have type dripping like color, computer pixels and grass letters, like referencing specific contexts of meaning. So again, compared to everything else that happens, there's an enormous amount of freedom in what happens on stickers. Who designs these stickers? I don't know, but my assumption is a lot of the people are not academically trained designers. And they use that space to be expressive, to be individual, and to very clearly what you can visually communicate is more important than legibility. I also owe you an answer to the question of why all these slab serif typefaces, and the answer is football clubs and fan communities. So not only do these typefaces have a long-standing history of being prominent in branding for sports clubs, they also, as you can see, are good in communicating boldness and strength. Some say masculinity. Looking at colors, we're sort of coming now to themes. You see that blue, red, and yellow are the next to black are the 3 strongest colors, and that is clearly linked to the local football clubs. So the colors of the local football clubs, because they make up a lot of the stickers, sort of dominate what we see in colors. Okay, let's have a look at the themes that people discuss on their stickers and negotiate. I have focused on comparing the 2 neighborhoods I pointed out earlier in my big bubbly slide. So we have Essen-Rüttenscheid, the very middle-class neighborhood where non-Germans and dual nationals only make up 13% of the population, and we have Dortmund-Nordstadt, we're the second largest proportion of non-Germans and dual nationals in our data set with 55.7%. So it's a very diverse community. And we see here that in Dortmund Nordstadt, the dominant themes are politics, followed by music, and then football. And in the south, we have a wider distribution, and we actually have a lot of these street art things I pointed out, and we have a lot of stickers as well that are transgressive. You are not allowed to post them, but they actually advertise a business. So a tattoo parlor, a hairdresser, things like that. So I'm going to now focus on politics, football, and music. I'm going to describe a few typographic particularities. Looking at political debates. So not marked, we have a lot of themes. Well, I'm going to talk about this in a bit later, but in not marked, I was thrilled looking at this data set because it's like the super left-wing heaven. You have just like, it's about feminism, it's about the environment, it's about animal welfare, it's about anti-sexism, anti-homophobia. What I enjoyed counting are these sort of replicas or variations on the original anti-nuclear power smiling sun logo designed by Anne Lund in 1975 in Denmark. And beyond these smaller political themes, the biggest theme is positioning against fascism and racism in an enormous amount of stickers who at times even appear like they are in the transgressive discourse, right? But a sticker like this, we are Dortmund, Nazis are not, appears to me to be a sticker that's given out by the city, by organizations, because you can see them in all shops, and it appears to me that that shop owners get them from somewhere and put that as a signifier on their facade. What we need to know about Dortmund is that in the past they had, it's a troubled neighborhood. They had a lot of crimes motivated by the right. One of the NSU murders, Mehmet Kubasik, in 2006 happened in Dortmund next to the street where we took our photos. So you see how the city and prominently the Dortmund football club here has sort of stepped up to fight racism and fascism. And we have all these organizations working on that. And then even you see a lot of stickers that are self-made. You find very sort of generic ones you can order on the internet. Multilingual ones here and sort of fun ones with maybe a bit older community members and the slogan like bring your crew. So all generations are fighting the cause. Okay, now I need to dampen the mood a bit. So I was really, really happy about all the stickers, and then I thought, okay, I want to learn more about Dortmund, its history, and I called the Coordination Office for Diversity, Tolerance and Democracy in Dortmund and did an interview with an employee. And the reason why I can only find left-wing positions is that the city of Dortmund takes down right-wing stickers every single day. So they have an office that collects this information from the community, from the public. They ask the community to not take them down themselves because it's not unusual that they have razor blades or glass underneath the stickers. So they have like a specific squad that have specific techniques to take down the stickers. And that was somewhat sobering because actually what I'm looking at is a bit of an edited reality. I thought it's transgressive. I thought what's there, but actually the city has edited this, which I think is right, but we can still discuss it and what that means. Okay, I'm going to close with that and have a closer look at what the use of black letter does in these three stickers here. All of them are political and two of them are also related to football. As the people here in the room and probably online know as well, the history of black letter typefaces is super interesting, super complex and very long. So I cannot do a full recount, but I'm just going to say that the National Socialists in Germany at a point in time claimed black letter as the German script in the 19th and 20th century, which is from a historical perspective not entirely true. But Regardless, through its history of use, black letter has acquired a connotation that's linked with Germany and fascism, and this connotation and historical reference is drawn on in these three stickers here. So on the left, you have a fight back sticker, and what you need to fight back against is indicated by the typeface. It's somewhat curly variation of a fettifactur, I would say. So this against racism is communicated by the shape of the letters. In the center, we have a soccer club, St. Pauli, who says against right in the bottom line, and we have a typeface change mid-sentence. So the word rechts, right, in a Gothic typeface is visually emphasized by font choice in a one-to-one form-content correspondence, if you want. And the third example is a bit more complex and complicated. So what we see on the photograph is the moment in the 1990 World Cup when the Dutch player Frank Rijkaard spat at the German player Rudi Völler. So if you want, we could interpret this as Rijkaard's spit is not only flying towards the back of Völler's head, but also against neo-Nazis in football clubs, symbolically visualized again by the black letter script. So, and interestingly, also in a sort of clarifying and contrasting fashion in sticker 1 and 3, we have further sort of sans serif text, the supposedly neutral form, that clearly states what these organizations stand for, but they use black letter in a way to reference the other. It's always used as a hetero stereotype, the other, never as an auto sort of self-signifying index. And I have not found any black letter use in right-wing organizations, but as I've already told you that they're scraping the stickers down, this might be the case that they still exist. What I found is this, and this was not in Dortmund, but I wanted to show you, I found 10 right-wing stickers in other parts of towns, and what I found remarkable, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I don't want to give it any space, but what's interesting typographically is that they are so unremarkable, right? So we have two very right-wing organizations, top left, identitarian generation, sorry. They're using, do you all know what the lambda symbol is? In the circle, the lambda symbol, which is a Greek letter, which supposedly ancient Spartans displayed on their shields in a war between the Greeks and the Persians, 5th century BC. So this identitarian generation has taken the symbol in an anti-Muslim, anti-immigration movement. But what's astonishing is that they look like, from afar, almost like any other political party. It's like they're trying to confuse the audience. They're hiding a radical message in an inconspicuous dress. And I find that astonishing. And they're copying very sort of traditional left-wing anti-fascist signs with these two flags are copied by a National Socialist movement. So again, tricking, copying, following visual recipes that actually belong to other organizations. Okay, I'm coming to my second theme. I thought I'd just be speaking 30 minutes. I might speak 4 minutes more. Football. Here you see how stickering is a territorial act. So we have Dortmund, stickers in Dortmund, the color of the club is yellow. And you see how they make up 87.1%, and there's not a single sticker from any other club. So they might have the tactic of taking things down and stickering over as well. Okay, and in Rüttenscheid, Dortmund seems to be the bolder community. Dortmund managed to place a few stickers, but other than that, Essen, Rot-Weiß Essen, which is the local club of Essen-Rüttenscheid, is taking up most space. One thing that sort of occurred to me as surprising or in any way interesting, I would like to point out, is this form of communicating strong emotion. These stickers appear like blockbuster cinema to me, and all around soccer in a way, ooh, again, football in a way does. So you have these themes around loyalty and foe and friend and passion, It's not complex or humorous in any way. It's very direct. And there are all these serif typefaces that I've mentioned before, communicating struggle and athleticism and strength. But when we zoom in, there are always these tiny scriptural bylines of love and affection. So a typeface is used to say, I don't know, what is it saying? With you forever, only you, and true love. And sometimes you don't even need to say that. You just write the name of your favorite stadium, and the typeface has it all. It's basically probably what you could find on Adobe fonts if you go for wedding script fonts or something. Sorry, I'm making fun. I mean, but still, it's this declaration of love in a shape that is very widely applied. Okay, my last theme, looking at music and how the genre is constructed by different sort of typographic means and forms. So there's a vast amount of hip-hop bands and groups that sport graffiti writing and tagging, sort of connecting to the subculture through the form of writing. This I sort of also expected. There's a range of alternative and indie rock bands. This is a very wide field, also typographically, but there's a lot of sort of handmade and craftiness in them, if you want. A bit of sort of wooden boards, and somehow that might also link to the music, this handmade aspect. Then, of course, there's metal music. That's something we're very aware of. It's the mother of the stereotypical typographic expression, very well researched by Spitzmüller, for example, sort of black letter working these associations of Nordic strength or the Gothic and darkness and heaviness, which is possibly also in the music. And then something that was new to me here on the right is electronic music. And I found that quite astonishing from a layout perspective, that they're doing, like, it's transmodal. What you hear is what you see, the sort of rhythmic, same space repetition, monospaced typefaces, inorganic way of, both modes, the visual and the acoustic, signify the same thing for this music genre. Of course, there's a lot of graphic expressions that we cannot tie into these very prototypical boxes, but nonetheless there are patterns and there are typographic characteristics that sort of create genre and that visualize group membership. I'm almost there, 2 more slides. That's another thing that I started collecting, looking through all of our images, that we've spoken about Dortmund Nordstadt, how it's a troubled neighborhood with a terrible history and now fighting against fascism, and how they use existing iconic designs to reflect and comment on their local situation in an ironic or affectionate way. It's sort of an intertextually evoking previous contexts of use and previous meanings. We have, of course, West Side Story, the love story in the troubled neighborhood turned into Nordstadt story. We have here the Nordstadt, and the tagline is the bourgeois nightmare. So the outdoor gear association, not for weaklings in a way. Then the third one, the Black Flag logo, influential punk music band, Black Flags of the anarchist movement. Another political statement, if you are in that group of people who can decipher it. And then, of course, Milton Glaser's famous I Love New York in a I Love Dortmund graffiti tag style version. So to conclude, 22% of transgressive stickers add a very specific discursive layer to an urban space, a space that's otherwise dominated by 50% of commercial signs. Individuals and specific groups use stickers to claim that space, to turn lampposts and electricity boxes into platforms to communicate and publish values, politics, ideologies, group membership, fandom, and it's a site to mark territory and manifest their presence. Thank you very much for your attention. I'd love to hear your questions. Hello. Oh. Does the city photograph record the stickers they take down? Yes. Yes. They do. And I am pondering on the idea. I would definitely like to have a look. Part of me is also scared, and I'm not sure if I want to spend a lot of time looking at fascist expressions. But yes. Yes.
The council or local authority that removes stickers,
Mm.
do they do this regardless of their own political affiliation?
The question was?
Or are they, yeah, so that the council that remove the stickers, are they a sort of left of center council, a right of center council? Is it like a blinded?
The Ministry of Truth.
Yeah.
I repeat the question. The council in Dortmund that removes the stickers, where are they politically? Left of center, right of center? I have not asked that question. I would suspect that they would say they are center. I have asked the question if they are synonymous, if they all agree on the fact that it's a good thing to take down right-wing stickers and edit their urban space in that way. And they replied they're debating that every week. But they have, I don't know, her example was next week we have a love parade and we want young people to be safe and happy and go to the parade. And we have all these homophobic stickers. So we're going to bloody take them down so we can have our parade. So she gave me a very sort of next week example, but they are conscious about the fact that it's it's an interfering with a public voice. Even if we all in this room are super happy, you all might agree with that public political position. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because there is the freedom of speech argument.
Yeah.
Although I would very happily
agree
that anything of the public space, somebody could, if there is an express statement of bias in the country's action, somebody could say, why are you removing those stickers, not the other stickers? Yeah.
Argument of freedom of speech. Why are some removed? Why are others not removed? Definitely. Yeah. It's an interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting thing too.
Got a question from Sarah.
Yeah. Or which one? Can you read it? Sorry.
So it's after LinkedIn set
Oh, I need to do that.
No.
No, someone in the room says no. No, I should. That's the thing I was thinking about as well. If we can see through time that these stickers become less or more or equal. They could become more because they're cheaper to produce. They could become less because there's Instagram. If you have an opinion, you can post on Instagram, but that's linked to your name and the urban space is not linked to your name. So I've asked the lady in Dortmund if she thinks it's there are less stickers because of social media, and she said no. She thinks it's as many as always, and they have a lot to do with them. Yeah, good idea. Thank you. You take a screenshot, so I won't forget. The idea of transgression, in that some are so transgressive they are removed, others are found acceptable. Thanks. Yeah, it's exactly that. I found left-wing positions that are really old, like you can see on the sticker. Maybe I'm still here. Yes, I'm still here. So I can show you this slide. You see how people sort of try to remove things and can't because the adhesive is really strong, and how they stick on top of each other here. But I could sort of tell from what was written on some stickers what sort of left-wing demonstrations they were calling for, that they were really old. So the city has no bother with taking down any old left-wing stickers. They're just taking, yeah. Does that answer your question, Mark? You can come on mic if you want to talk about it. Which is the next question? The feminist. Oh, Malcolm says I haven't answered his question. There is no question mark in your question, Malcolm. Sorry. I'm intrigued by the feminist sticker groups. In some ways, they remind me of miniature zines. Is that the question?
Yes.
It's not a question, it's a comment. Yes, that's a good comment. Yeah, they are. And particularly the ones that are handmade or self-produced or not sort of ordered from an online form, but sort of the stenciling, using stencils on the background and then applying that background. So there's interesting sort of palimpsest layering things happening, and thinking about zines is a very good point. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Malcolm. All good. This is not so easy. It's much easier if you come on mic and talk to me. I'll do my best to read them.
So I actually have a question, if that's cool. So the mention of social media. Sorry. Oh, I'm echoey. Sorry. So the mention of social media made me wonder if the number of stickers hasn't dropped. I wonder about the connection between the people who kind of shun social media and their sort of general aspect on life. So a lot of my circle of like punk people don't care about social media. They want to be in physical space. They want to be still making zines on the photocopier at the library. And I think that's an interesting, especially if you're looking at left-right politics. Because a lot of right-wing stuff is happening online and a lot of left-wing stuff is happening in physical space. So that's just an interesting angle. I'm wondering if you have thoughts there.
Yeah. Your thought is a very interesting thought, and I have not. I mean, you see it a bit in me. I'm not on Instagram. And I should have a look, but I'm, like you said, I'm shying away, and I'm more interested in walking around and taking photos. It's interesting how you would turn that, how you could make that operational, like how you can measure that. How can I find out who is where and how do these networks operate? Like this is like a lamppost network in the city, and then there's the social network.
Right.
One thing that comes to me is that I found that on some of them, particularly the newer ones, the city network, it's also something Gertrud Retzemius works on, the city network draws you into the online network. So there's always a web address or a Twitter handle. So it's a way of an access point. Yeah, good question.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Is the production of the stickers something that your data set and research cover? Unfortunately not. I have to do interviews. For example, self-publishing of books is very tied to print-on-demand technologies and economies of scale. Yeah. Is there something similar going on with stickers? Are people printing these at their personal computers, or are there editioned in vast quantities through commercial printers? Do any stickers have imprints? Such a good question, and yes, something to explore. I have done a little bit of research, and there's some of these stickers I've shown you. You can just order online in packs of 500s. Sort of a very standard one with the true flags, anti-fascist movement. But then again, like I said, we have about 9%, which is about 500 stickers that are really made by hand at home individually, little hearts with little drawings, complex narratives, artistically drawn, with little signatures, like a tag. Like I can't identify the person, but the person in their community will be identifiable. And the fact that I noticed that they develop narratives from different locations of tagging, like these two characters that meet, that appear individually and meet again and do things together. This seems to be sort of really self-published without anyone interfering. It's handmade things. And then stencil productions are something in between. You need a bit of professional equipment to do that. You need spray cans. But why do you make that effort? Why do you use a spray can and a stencil if you could just Photoshop something? No. It seems to be important to some people to do that physically. That's interesting. Yeah.
Good question. Can I ask
yeah. Okay, I'm going to read out. This is very, very media diverse. So he's sitting here and he's asking me, are any of the football stickers linked to violent gangs? I think one of the stickers, slide had ultras on it, which I think is a phrase used by violent fans, gangs. Yes. And I will, like in my interview with the sociologist doing research on fan work, she went through with me and she could tell me pretty much exactly how violent a group is, how non-violent a group is, how this football community is seen in the overall community, because some football clubs have invested a lot of resources into fan work and really have commercial posters speaking out against fascism, and others have not done that enough, so they become a hub for certain groups. So yes, I have not. When I'm not at the bottom of this, yes, that is fair to say that's in there. Yeah. Further questions?
Yes. Did you see anybody sticking up stickers?
No. I had a camera with me, so maybe people were not brave enough. But it's a good question. Like, how would I ever? I love doing interviews and finding out like about the production. So how would I find these people? Well, actually, what I would do for the handmade, I would try the art schools. Like, who has the screen printing, and I would start asking around there, or youth cafes, or yeah. And start from there, because I'm probably standing. I mean, Rüttenscheider Straße, the one that has most of them, could be, if I hang around there long enough, should be a summer day. Yeah, working on it.
Irmi, can you follow that up?
Yes.
Because indeed, everything you've shown us is sort of your observations, but the people don't appear everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's quite statistically driven.
Yeah.
So, good testimony, which I think is referring to, can that be fit into your research approach? And if so, how would that be done? And if I could ask the second part of that question, how does your approach to this area fit with what other research is it the same or different?
That's a really good question.
Oh God.
Just give an indication of what it was.
How my approach is very statistics driven, is what Eric Kindle said, and how would qualitative interviews be tied into that, and how is my approach linked to other people's approaches? I think it would tie in. Let's think about what I could possibly ask. So I'm interested in the time and sort of time comparison aspect, and sort of motivations of people. I have nothing about motivations and perceptions, and that's like completely missing. This is all my observations, but that's due to the fact that I had a certain amount of time. And that's just the natural next step. And I have to admit that for me, this is often my starting point, that I start statistically driven and then I find stuff like, oops, the soccer stickers are completely in their sections. Okay, there's territoriality. And now I can go in an interview, guideline-based, and say, it appears to me there's territoriality. Are you fighting about these spaces, and how does that happen? And I think this quantitative approach helps me finding the qualitative questions almost. How does that link to other researchers' approach? It pretty much links. So I'm inspired by Gertrud Retzemius, Evelyn Ziegler, and their work. I forgot the name of a very cool researcher who started this in the 70s. Visco, can find it in a second. And they seem to have the same sort of, well, some people just go qualitatively and show you a few stickers and sort of describe the communities behind them. But I find interesting to understand, and since I have that data set, I find it interesting to understand how that relates to the structure of the overall linguistic landscape or semiotic landscape and where things are. So this connection of social structure, space, and emplacement writing activity is a nice nexus, and I get an access to the quantitative and the mapping. And if I then can sort of add qualitative interviews, I get sort of a triangulation and a better understanding. I think that would be my goal. Does that answer your question?
It does. I mean, there's a certain strength in the corpus.
Yeah.
Because it's so big.
Yeah.
And the statements you make from it.
Yeah.
Solidity to them.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, testimonies are idiosyncratic.
Yeah.
You have no idea if they're anyway.
Yeah.
That's what you're after, but the statistics suggest that's sort of what you're after. So testimony, you may not dovetail immediately with the approach you take, because it's idiosyncratic, so localized.
No. So Eric is asking a methodological question. If getting testimony during what I would call guideline-based interviews would work against this quantitatively driven spatial distribution approach. And I think, on the contrary, I think combining the two is the real deal. I think just doing one of them doesn't give you the full picture. And I would say, I wouldn't, what you call testimony, it's still the responsibility of the researcher in interviews with sign producers or sign makers or perceivers to find themes that appear often enough or solidly enough that you distract knowledge from it. It's not one person says this and that's the truth. It's more talking to that many people that you get an understanding of what might be happening and sort of crystallize themes from that. That's how I would defend that, yes.
I think it was your first bubble.
My first bubble.
You show the location where the stickers are, and
yeah.
you make a connection to the social makeup of the neighborhood. I heard it as if you were suggesting that the stickers were placed by people who were residents in that neighborhood.
That's not necessarily true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So from the principle that the dog doesn't mark his territory right outside his home.
Yeah.
The biggest circle is the middle class neighborhood. Is a way to test the hypothesis that people from other parts are protesting in exactly
the same spot
where they see as representing the targets of their ire.
Yeah. So Jerry is challenging my suggestion that the communities are marking and stickering in the place where they live. It might as well be that Rüttenscheid is the sort of, such a weird, well, that's the part of the town, the sort of biggest bubble. It might be that this is sort of the known area to make your position visible. And so people come from everywhere and post their stickers there. That is possible, and that would need to be sort of figured out by standing around asking people where they come from. And yeah.
Because also my dog marks territories when Sue's dog wants to mark where I've marked mine. So if one team
place there,
then the other people really don't want to leave that space unmarked.
Good point. Yeah, so Jerry reiterated that, like dogs who mark their territory, other dogs are attracted by that and mark their territory as well.
An observation I might add that cat people would not be able to name, but dog people
It's a dog people observation. I'm just saying what Jerry said. Yes.
Just one more online question.
Yeah, last question. Gail.
Oh, I can't. What, Gail?
So
Gail, hello.
She unmutes herself.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I've done a fair amount of stickering in my time, going back to the 1970s, and also worked in radical and feminist self-publishing. So some other time I could answer some of those questions about how the stickers were reproduced. But I suppose I was responding to your question about how would you find the people who do the stickering, and I guess you would have to go and hang out in social centres and women's centres if they still exist. And a question I had, but I think this might be answered by this Ruhr Metropolis one that you've just stuck up, is the question about the relationship between, because what we did was an awful lot of graffitiing as well, anti-sexist, complaining about car ads and, etc. And how that relates to your stickers. And do you still have that? And then one other, just a little quick comment, is that I've noticed that there's an awful lot of stickers in London where they put there's a lot of metal shutters, which there never used to be. And then there's loads and loads of stickers up the side of these metal shutters, which actually tell you how to get in touch with people if you want your own metal shutters installed, which I suppose is actually, that comes under commercial really. But I just have noticed a big influx of them lately around here.
Yeah. I've seen those in Madrid as well, where people advertise all kinds of services on tiny stickers in urban space, which is something I have not found in that way in the Ruhr area. So graffiti and tagging was your question. I have, as you can see here, we have graffiti tags and graffiti pieces also on this map. And we see that as graffiti tags, we have loads, 4,153. And what we called pieces, which means more complex drawn designs that take a bit longer to do, we just have very few, just 61. But this relates to the areas we photographed. We were in mixed residential commercial areas. So look, tags, yes. But in the tagging, I have to say that I found less explicit messages. So I found a lot of sort of acronyms of writers or crew, or sometimes names with little symbols like a heart or a star, like all these typical typographic variations you have around graffiti, but not in form of sort of political opinion or football club.
Oh well, out of vogue maybe.
Yeah, or I have to look in different areas. I think you need a bit of time to draw a message. And if you're in a big shopping street, it's very easy.
Sure.
Like about stickering, it's really inclusive. Like even if you can't run fast, you can sticker just quickly somewhere.
Sure.
But for tagging, you need to be sportive.
And in London, we get a lot on the tube as well, even now. But that is more stickering these days.
Yeah, so I've just moved here, so I'm gonna now start having a closer look around.
Good, thank you.
Great. So on that note, we have to close now. But thank you, Irmi, again. Let's have a clap. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we hope to see you soon at one of our seminars. This one next Thursday. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.